Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're so glad that you are here. I'm excited to introduce my friend and my member in two of my NIA groups, Angelica Owens. So, Angelica was homeschooled throughout childhood. She learned her sales from her father at a young age. By 13, she was cold calling leads at 13. By 14, she'd earned her first five-figure sales income. That early foundation followed her throughout her career. Angelica became the first person who trained the sales team at nearly every job she's held, eventually stepping into a corporate role where she built the sales enablement infrastructure for a national automotive e-commerce brand. Now self-employed, Angelica has spent the last 3 years building a six-figure portrait studio and coaching entrepreneurs to show up as themselves, do hard things, and sell with confidence. So I introduce you to Angelica Owens.
Thank you for that fantastic introduction, Lisa. Am I okay to go ahead and share my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. Is that up for everyone?
We're seeing you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So welcome. We're talking today about handling rejection without losing your confidence. And Lisa did a great job kind of overviewing that bio. Nothing new on this slide, but yes, I've learned sales from all different aspects. I've learned old school icky sales tactics that nobody likes, up to more modern forms of sales training. So if you think today is going to be a training on overcoming objections, that's not it. So love to dive in with that for you. So today we're going to review how to recognize how the fear of rejection shows up in your sales behavior, how to separate a prospect's decisions from your personal worth, how to turn a no into useful information and clear next steps, and how to make more direct sales asks without becoming pushy. So before we dive in, I want to get a poll and a pulse from everybody in the room. What sales ask have you currently been avoiding? There's no wrong answer here. This is just a reflection exercise. But what have you been not doing? Something you know that's on your to-do list. Have you not been following up with somebody that needs to hear from you? Have you not given them a quote on a service that you're talking about? Have you not directly asked for a sale, or have you not requested a referral? What are those things that you know are on your to-do list? Would love to hear from you. Let's see what we've got in the chat. Asking for referrals. It's a good one. Terrible about asking for the sale. Asking for testimonials. Yes, that's a great one. Yep, asking for the sale. Asking for donation. Because a lot of it comes down to actually making the ask. What comes up for you with that? What is holding you back from making that ask? Does anyone want to share? Okay. Don't want to seem too pushy. Yes, absolutely. That's usually what holds us back. Great call out there. So the real cost of rejection isn't often the no, it's the self-rejection, right? Self-rejection is the silent deal killer. Before a prospect ever even has the chance to respond, fear steps in and makes that decision for you. Repeat after me. You cannot sell an offer you are too afraid to present. Every ask you avoid is a sale that you've already lost, not to rejection, but to hesitation and to self-doubt. So fear shows up in a lot of different ways. It rarely feels like fear right off the bat. It's usually something like, I don't want to be pushy, right? A few people mention that. Concern for others is real, but generally this is just rooted in a fear of being disliked or being too much. Another one that comes up a lot is they probably can't afford it. I hear this a lot with my sales mentoring clients is they spend money for the client before they even had a chance to give them an answer. So they tend to backpedal on the price, or they adjust things, or they avoid giving the quote. I've actually been waiting on a price quote from a meal prepping company now for over a month, and I'm not quite sure what's holding her back, but she is not quoting me on the price. So getting it out of your head that they can't afford it, don't spend other people's money. That's all up to their own perception. I'll follow up later. Later rarely comes, right? That's just avoidance dressed up as planning. Time kills deals. So the quicker you can get to following up with someone, the better. And then maybe I should lower my price. Discounting before you even hear the objection. That's another fear response. Feel free to chime in either verbally or in the chat. How do these come up for you? How often do you feel this? Does this come up for you when you are having a sales conversation? Chat. Want to give them time to review things, big decisions. Yep. They probably can't afford it. Yep. Not getting proper commitments on the first appointment. Yeah, not getting a proper commitment on the first appointment. That's common, right? Don't want to be a slimy salesperson. Yes, we're definitely going to address that. Time and uncomfortable with not knowing what to say. Yes, I'm lowering price. Yeah. See, these are all common things. Notice in the chat that you're not alone. You all are struggling with the same things that come up time and time again. So what is your knee jerk? What is the thing you tend to go to when you fear hearing no? This is not when a no has even been delivered, but when you fear that no coming, do you tend to delay the follow-up? Do you tend to over-explain and keep adding details to try to convince them before they can say no? Do you tend to lower the price? Or do you tend to just avoid a direct ask? By a poll, just drop in A, B, C, or D. What do you tend to go for? Let's see. Hannah says, I recently sent a proposal that I found myself spending the company's money before they had the chance. I said they probably should not afford the tiered package. They probably could not afford the tiered package they need, but I do not know if that is true. That's something you told them directly. A, C, B, B. Over explain. Yes, I've definitely done that myself. D. I'm kind of all over there. No consistent theme. Let's see. D. Well, D, avoiding the direct ask. It's just uncomfortable. Yes. Lisa says she'll avoid the ask, but it is, or she'll make the ask, but it's still uncomfortable. So first things first, we have to stop taking it personally. We have to divorce ourselves from the idea that the no has anything to do with us as individuals. And I know that's easier said than done, but it comes with the reps and doing it over and over and proving to yourself that it doesn't have to do with you. It just has to do with the offer, the price, the timing, the priority, the fit. It could be any number of things that is causing somebody to say no, but it has nothing to do with you as an individual. They're not criticizing your worth or value. Divorce yourself from the products and services that you're offering, because those are not you. Those are just things that you do or things that you represent. And beyond that, no matter what you do, you'll never be enough for the wrong people, but you'll also never be too much for the right ones. So being true to yourself, being authentic, and knowing that what you're offering has value speaks volumes. You don't have to have them, say yes right on the first time or say yes at all. You have to just divorce yourself from the fact that they're not criticizing you. It's just not a fit, right? So complete this sentence. When someone says no to my offer, I tend to make it mean what? When you hear that actual word, not anticipation of the no, when you actually hear the no, what do you tend to make that mean? Your first honest answer, no filtering, no editing. What's that story you tell yourself? Let's see. Charlie always lowers the price every single time. He said I could throw that in there. They don't understand my value. I'm too expensive. They need more information. They're not ready. I'm too expensive, too expensive. What did I do wrong? They think they do not need me. They choose a less expensive option. Depends on when it's a renewal. It is much worse. Sales decisions are rarely based on price. Very rarely based on price. Sales is ultimately an equal exchange of value. If you didn't present the offer in a way that is digestible and understandable to the client and it lights them up and they feel aligned by the offer, that's a communication issue. It's not a pricing issue. I assure you, I am 10 times more expensive than my competitors. And if I find anybody is getting close to my price, I raise them. But it all comes into providing the whole service level and the experience that goes beyond it, and then having confidence in what I'm offering. But price is rarely the deciding factor on whether someone will move forward or not. So let's frame it. No isn't data, right? No isn't just no, walk away, you're a bad person, I'm feeling shame. You either win or you learn, right? You can't. That's a mindset shift. Instead of thinking, I'm a failure, I'm losing, they don't want to work with me, reshift the mindset. My coach always says, I never lose, I either win or I learn, which is a quote from Nelson Mandela. So when a prospect says no, it's not a verdict on your worth or your offer. It's simply information. So it could be a few things. Could be that the offer is not clear. The prospect just didn't fully understand what you're offering. I've had entire one-to-ones with people And by the end of an hour, I still don't really understand what it is that they're offering. So do some reflection and figure out, like, is your offer actually clear? Do they actually know what you're trying to communicate? Could also be that the value is not understood. The benefit was not communicated in a way that connected to the specific need or the situation. Could simply be that the timing is wrong. The prospect may be genuinely interested, but facing constraints that make right now the wrong moment. I've had clients who seemed really gung-ho, and then suddenly something came up where they had to redirect their time and money, but then they came back months later and moved forward. So it was just simply a matter of timing. And sometimes it's just not a right fit, right? Sometimes the offer just might not match the prospect's goals. They might not be best suited to the situation. That's just useful information to know early on. The more you can figure out who's just simply not a right fit, and you can start identifying those patterns, then when you're out prospecting or you're connecting or you're networking with folks and you meet people that kind of fit into that same category that wasn't a good fit, then you know that that's just not your client base. The goal is to understand what the no is telling you. You can respond from that point, but just use it as data rather than a point of rejection. What is that no telling? And you don't need to overcome every objection, right? I mean, I've spent a lot of time in sales trainings and developing sales trainings for, e-commerce, and especially the automotive industry, which is known for notoriously being aggressive sales techniques and overcoming objections. And if they say this, you say this. No, sometimes a no just means no. You're not gathering objections so that you can launch into rebuttal mode. This is the moment that someone hates the sales process. When people say that they hate being sold to or they hate salespeople, it's because their no wasn't respected. It's because somebody kept trying to push through and kept trying to put a square into a circular peg, and it just does not work, right? If your services or products are truly the right fit for the client and you've explained it effectively, then it will be a clear yes. So the real reason people hate sales is because they feel manipulated. People have a problem with sales when it feels like they're taking advantage or they're trying to spin something, right? Honest sales is the result of genuine service, solving a problem the client has rather than a problem you told the client they have. Old school sales tactics often relied on making the buyer feel less than. They lean on scarcity, or they lean on making you feel like you're missing out. Entire industries have been built on instilling shame and self-hate to sell products and services. An honest salesperson will simply seek to learn what the client wants or needs, present their solution, and then accept the response. You don't need to persuade someone who isn't aligned. Seek alignment, not just close ratio. The more you can be in alignment, the more those sales will naturally happen because you're communicating with people who are the right fit for what you do. And that comes down to really being clear on who your client avatar is. Is it possible to let people actually speak instead of drop it in the chat? Can we open up for a time, like a story time, that they can tell a story where they've been felt manipulated by a salesperson? I'm going to share one to start. Does that work, Daniel?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So starting to start, we've probably experienced this a lot. You go into the mall and then there's people who are selling skincare products, right? So you try to dart past them as quick as possible, but they're aggressive. They will get you. And so sometimes I like to entertain those conversations just so I could hear their pitch and then kind of criticize them on it and then move on with my life. But it's a fun little thing I do. So there's this one company that was in the mall and they shout at me and they're like, "Oh, you've got great skin." And so I'm like, all right, let me introduce things. So they use a compliment to hook you in, right? And then they lean with, "Oh, but it's actually kind of dry. I would like to suggest this for you." And then they're trying to pitch me on this thing that's allegedly a solution for this dry skin that I didn't realize that I had, while they hooked you in with an inauthentic compliment. That's yuck. No one likes that. That's pushy. That's manipulative. However, if I was someone who was legitimately struggling with dry skin and had an organic conversation with a skincare professional, and we were just getting onto the topic of, what I was needing, and I just referenced that I had dry skin, that salesperson might be like, "Oh, actually, I have this product that does XYZ. Is that something that might be something you want to check out?" I had the issue. I'm presenting the problem. They're presenting the solution. So old school sales is, especially rooted in like the car sales industry, for instance, is all on their agenda, right? Aging inventory on the lot, they got to sell that first. So they're going to tell you every lie in the book to get that vehicle off of the lot. That's why people have a negative connotation with sales. Good sales is just consultative. So I'd love folks to share verbally or in the chat, whatever they're more comfortable with, but verbally if you can. Tell us a time where you felt manipulated by a salesperson. What was that? What happened? Land of potions and lotions. Anyone have a story?
Feel free to unmute or you could drop something in the chat there.
I can
Yeah, the bait and switch. Yep, exactly. Bait and switch is very manipulative. There's a lot of manipulative sales tactics that exist.
I'll go. Because
Yes.
it just came up. Not so I recently ended my business coaching agreement and they offered sales. They have a specific coach for each sales mindset thing, whatever. So I've been on, 7, 8 months of this coaching master classes, and I could literally like see it, her doing it to me. And it felt so icky because I'm like, I know what you're doing because you told me how to do this.
Yeah.
Immediately I was like, I don't know if this is right anymore. And I didn't renew, but it was interesting. It's like the pain points, like where would you be if you didn't do the business coaching?
Oh yeah. I every time if I'm on a sales call and someone is like, what would your life look like if you had XYZ? Like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah,
Stop trying to do like
yeah, once you know, it's hard to
once you
unsee.
know, you can't unsee it. Yeah, no, and it's schmarmy, and like I will call people out every time for doing that. I was like, nice pitch. Here's why I'm not moving on. So
Be like, actually, I'm really content with where I am right now. And they're like,
yes,
all right, well, we're not going to convince you. And then they kind of just like cut off all communication. And I was
yeah.
like, I still have like a few weeks left of my contract. So that felt icky to me.
Another manipulative tactic that you've probably seen is using scarcity in a bad way. Scarcity is a real thing. There's a finite number of resources and time. Like there's is a way that scarcity is legitimate and can be used in sales, but oftentimes it's used in a very manipulative, pushy way. There is a roofing company I won't name that is notorious for this. They will like door-to-door salespeople. They'll come to your house. They'll give you this whole pitch, this whole presentation, and then they hard sell you on this exorbitantly highly priced like roofing system, and then they will drop down the price significantly to suddenly be like, oh, this is a one-time offer and you have to sign it like before we leave, and then it's like rescinded. That's a high pressure tactic that doesn't make anybody feel good, and it makes them feel pushed into a box. So like when you are usually utilizing scarcity, it can be done in a legitimate way as long as it's actual scarcity, not fabricated scarcity. What is this comment? You cannot handle my potions, traveler. My potions are too strong for you. Potion seller. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, moving on. So how do you still maintain persistence without pressure, right? So there's a difference. Persistence is helpful. Persistence, and I appreciate persistence, right? Like there's a company that I've been wanting to work with that I'm told to follow up with me, right? And I told them to keep following up with me because I'm busy. It's not like a thing that I need right now, but it's something that I do need to arrange and get my studio mates on board with. So I've told them to be persistent with me, right? So some things that you can say are like, would it be helpful for me to follow up later? Or would you prefer that I close the loop, right? Or totally fair, is there a better time for me to check back in? Or no problem, if anything changes, I'm here. As opposed to some of the pressure tactics you hear, like, what would I have to do to get you to say yes today? Or are you sure? I think you're making a really big mistake. Or you said this was important to you, so why aren't you ready to commit? Ugh, I'm sure we've all heard those, right? Gross. So persistence keeps the door open. Pressure refuses to let the person close it. A salesperson that people respect is consultative, not coercive. Write that down. A salesperson that people respect is consultative, not coercive. Let's get some other things in the chat here. Yes, always get permission to follow up. Perfect. Okay. Book recommendation is Go for No. I would highly recommend this. It is a 90-minute audiobook. The world needs more 90-minute audiobooks. So go ahead and download that. This is a great mindset shift. It's really told in the format of a story. And there's some follow-up books like When They Say No, which is objection-handling, but in a more ethical way. It's a really great series. The author is excellent. So highly recommend this. Add this into your library. Okay, so let's review. Sales is simply enthusiastically solving people's problems. Don't overcomplicate it. Find the need and provide your solution. If it's not the right fit, don't sweat it. Learn from the exchange and move on next time. So don't forget to make the ask, right? Don't reject yourself before the prospect ever gets the chance to respond. And even if they do reject you, what is the worst case scenario? What is the worst thing that can happen? You just don't do business with them and you have another sales conversation, right? It's ultimately a numbers game at the end of the day. Don't take it personal. No is a decision about the offer, timing, priority, or fit. It's not your worth. Get curious. The no is data, right? Learn what it's telling you. Take what's useful and determine the next steps. And stay consultative. Seek alignment, not just the close. Be persistent without coming across coercive, and respect the answer. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me directly on my cell. That's a preferred method. Or you can check out my website, I have a contact form, or follow me on Instagram. That would be super appreciated at the Angelica Owens. I'm available for speaking, mentoring, and portraits. Remember that sales ask you've been avoiding? You know where I'm going with this. Why don't you do it today? Today is the best time to get something done because none of us are promised tomorrow. So I want to open this up for some questions and discussion. What stood out to you in this? Like, how does that shift your perspective on how you've been approaching the sales conversations so far? Would prefer like actually speaking instead of in the chat, but up to you guys.
I'll go. So for me, it's just more of constantly changing my mindset, right? So from the slimy sales thing that we all grew up with and the pressure that we get now and then, and just knowing that one, what we offer is better than anything that's out there, period, final.
Right.
It is. I could be charging 3 times more for this.
Absolutely.
And it's an amazing freaking deal. And so just remembering that going in, and then I'm constantly like, okay, is this person a good fit? Can I bring them value? Can they bring value to the group? And sometimes I might be a little bit too picky, I find. But I think my members appreciate it. But I think it's just changing that mindset and constantly reminding myself of what I already know, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What we offer is freaking amazing. And just to feel that and know that and put my mindset on that going into a conversation.
And then what are some ways we can actually validate that, right? We can read testimonials that people have written for us, right? Also, your testimonials are some of the best ways to write more content for your business by paraphrasing what people already say about you, right? And those are things that can go into your sales conversations too, you know, like, oh, telling stories, right? Oh, I worked with a client that was in this position and this was the outcome of that, right? So that they can relate to relatable outcomes. Also, being careful not to attach yourself too strongly with the outcome of the prospect, because in most services or products, there is still onus on the individual to follow through with whatever it is that you're providing, right? So like if you're working with somebody in a coaching or even like a networking context, right? You're bringing somebody into a networking group. You're wanting them to get connections. You're wanting them to like get business and referrals from that. They have to do a lot of work. You can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink, right? So their experience and their results in the program is up to them. So not feeling bad because you didn't give them a good product or you didn't give them a good service. You gave them the outline and the roadmap for them to follow. If they didn't follow that, that's on them, right? So you know that what you're offering has value, but also knowing that you can't provide all of that value yourself. That value does still have to come from the interaction of the experience as a whole.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. That's so like in the automotive industry, we, at Kelly's Automotive Service, our staff is supposed to advise the clients of what they find on the car. And some of them are like, oh my gosh, it's $3,000 worth of stuff. And they don't want to tell them. And what we constantly tell them is, how can they make a good financial decision about their vehicle? Maybe they don't want this vehicle anymore. Maybe they want to trade it in and get another one. Why are you holding that information back? And and they're selling out of their own pocket. When I keep telling them, you're not selling. You're just letting them know what's going on with their vehicle and letting them make that decision going forward.
Again, you're just providing data, right? Hannah says, I really appreciate what you said. Don't spend other people's money before they have the chance. This will help me as I launch my business. I need to propose the service I believe is needed, not the service I believe they can afford. Yes, you have absolutely no idea what somebody else can or cannot afford, because what somebody else values is completely up to them, right? Like some people really value, luxury cars and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on cars. Some other people couldn't imagine buying anything other than a used beater, right? It's like completely up to individual perception. And then even beyond that, if people who have a lot of money, sometimes like my wealthiest clients have been my stingiest buyers. And I've also had people who worked at Walmart who saved up for 6 months to work with me. So it really just depends on what somebody actually values, and you can't determine that for them. You can only present what it is that you have to offer, and if it's a good fit, it's either a hell yes or a hell no. So we have another comment in the chat. Da, da, da. Let's get to that. Anybody else? What comes up for you in the sales conversation that you're struggling with?
I'll share, Angelica. I am a travel advisor, so a lot of conversations that I have with folks are about my value versus AI or Expedia or Costco. And I find myself very resentful sometimes, like if you don't know what working with a human can do for you. So I find that I don't really like, I shy away from that conversation because of that.
Because you feel like they should already know? Or
Yes, or maybe I just don't know how to explain really well. Like
like the value of
I became a travel advisor because I loved working with travel advisors and having someone to do that for me. And so I think sometimes I just feel like I don't want to have this conversation again. Claude is not going to plan you a really fabulous vacation.
why do you like hiring travel advisors?
Well, I, even as an advisor, I don't like to plan my own vacation. To me, it's like cooking a really huge meal, and at the end, you're just tired of it. Like, I've been planning Thanksgiving dinner for 3 weeks, and I had to go grocery shop, and I had to put together timing, and I had to make sure that everything was okay, and buy a new crock pot because this one was broken, and yada yada. And by the end of it, I'm like, I don't even want to be doing this. And then I still don't get to sit down and eat because the kids need this and we ran out of gravy and yada yada. So even during the meal, I can't sit and enjoy it. And that's what travel is like. If you are the one planning it, you're always the one that's on and you don't get to relax and enjoy
Do you
that
tell your
vacation.
clients that? Do you tell your clients that even as a travel advisor, you hire a travel advisor because of that?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, and the sales conversation is going to be repeated, right? There's no way to avoid not having the same kind of conversation because ultimately you're explaining the value. And most people aren't going to necessarily know like what the difference between going to Claude and hiring, going through the AI route to figure out a travel experience versus what you do, right? But at the end of the day, the right fit is going to be someone who wants a travel consultant, right? They don't just want to check a box online. They want a human that they can call me like, hey, my flight's delayed. What do I do? Or, hey, like, I can't check into this hotel like I was expecting. They're not going to get that from AI, right? So, like, emphasizing to them that you're like the trusted partner that takes them through the entire process. Like, the having to repeat yourself on the concept or educate them on it, like, yeah, that's part of sales. That's part of explaining what it is, but explain it from a position of enthusiasm. Like, how do you feel when you've had somebody else plan a trip for you? Like, what does that do for you? How does that make you feel less stressed? How does that make you enjoy your vacation more? Right? Leaning on those pieces because
Yes.
they
I
want to
think,
hear your
yeah, what
perspective.
you're saying is that it's not about defending myself, which makes me feel icky. It's
Right.
about showing the value of,
Yes. Yeah, not defending. Yeah, because it sounds like you're trying to defend yourself like, well, I'm better than AI and why you should use me instead of AI. No, explaining the benefit of like why you feel the way that you do by hiring like human to actually take care of your travel,
It's really
right?
good.
Oh, what was that?
I
I don't
think
know.
somebody just
I
said
guess, yeah.
me.
Yes. So
Thank
you don't
you.
need to defend yourself against AI. You just need to explain why you are so enthusiastic about travel being, planned by an individual human.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Crystal. Let's see.
I'd bounce off that just a second because I think it's important that, not only she had mentioned that she was like a little resentful for having to kind of explain that if I heard that right. And I recently had an experience where I told you earlier in the call that, oh, I need to get some readers now. I'm shopping for progressive lenses, but I've never worn them before. So I don't know nothing. I don't know anything about them, what to expect or anything. And I went into an eyeglasses store, right? And I got my appointment, I got my eyes checked and everything. Okay, I'm eligible for progressives, fine. And it comes down to the point of sale, right? Where I have some very basic questions. And I remember like the lady across from me just seemed really irritated by my questions, so much so that I felt uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't want to buy from you, like, and you so I think it's important also that if you have salespeople beneath you, obviously they need to have the same, I mean, maybe not necessarily the same passion, but at least the same delivery or same level of enthusiasm. Um, I don't know. I'm just mulling over a recent experience, and I'm not sure if that brings any value to this conversation.
Oh no, absolutely. I've totally been there. Like I was at a home show and I was interested in um a hot tub that was salt water. And so I asked the salesman, did he carry hot tubs that were salt water? And he was like, well, chlorine's salt, right? And I'm like, I'm aware. Well, we will not be working together because you're
Yeah.
mansplaining salt to me now. So, and I walked away. So,
Yeah.
like, you don't need to be rude or like counter what the person's asking a genuine question. That is the fastest way to shoot someone in the foot, is by trying to, be annoyed by with a question or something like that. Because
Yeah.
generally, a good salesperson is that consultative person, right? Is someone who's guiding you to the finish line. Does anybody here read Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller? Excellent book. And that framework, while that works in website copy and marketing, is also essentially the same framework as a sales conversation, right? Someone has an issue, they're the protagonist, right, in their own story. You are the trusted, wise advisor who can help move them to reach their end goal. And all you're doing is gathering information from the prospect to learn if you are a good fit for them, and then presenting your solution, right? Like, another thing is, don't try to sell every single person. I turn down prospects all the time because I don't think they're a good fit. If I genuinely don't think that I'm going to, give somebody a good experience on camera, or I don't think that I'm going to be able to like help support them in their business through consultation or mentoring, then I will redirect them to somebody else. Like, part of being good in sales is also having high integrity with yourself. If you don't feel like you're the right fit, don't lie to them. Don't try to tell them that you're the right fit, all for you to not be able to provide the value that they're expecting, right? So it's a two-way street. You're evaluating if you're the best fit for them as much as you're evaluating if they want to work with you. I love storytelling, especially if it brings out passion. Yes, absolutely. What else do people struggle with? Anybody else want to share a recent sales conversation that they had that went poorly, or that they didn't follow up on, or something that they would need support or a discussion around? Not everyone all at once.
Oh, you could feel free to unmute. You could hold the space bar to unmute yourself, or you could type it on in the chat.
Yes.
I'll go since no one else is going, unless they have something.
Bridget,
No.
let her rip.
Okay. So I have a prospect that I've been talking to for like 3 months. They came to me through referral and gave them the bigger one and bigger scope that I thought could help them if they weren't ready. So we dialed it down, which is fine. And they were like, we're ready to go. And then now it's, oh, we had some admin problems or a change of staff, and now it's been like 2 months where they're like, which I'm like, yeah, we don't want to push marketing if your employee can't answer the phone because you don't have a system or you lost your front desk
Right.
and they're looking to grow and scale. And so I'm like, okay, I don't really want to push it because if they don't have those systems, you're not ready. But then like at what do I just keep following up like every 2 weeks. I'm like, hey,
Right.
how are things going? Like, it's a healthcare, and I'm like, the market's changing, Asante's closing, like this is a really good time if we're gonna move forward. And they're like, oh, not yet, but there's responsive. It takes
Right.
a week or two to get back to me, but I'm like, is there any suggestions there? Like, do I just keep going and checking in, and then when they're ready, they're ready? Like, I don't want to be pushy,
I
like,
would be direct with them and just ask them, is it helpful for me to continue following up with you? Is this not a time, or is this not the right time for you to be moving forward? And then they're going to say either one of two things. Like they'll be like, yeah, this isn't the right timing, in which you could be, great. Would it be appropriate or okay for me to follow up with you in X number of time, maybe a month or 2 months from
which
now?
they keep saying, like, follow up in 2 weeks. And then it's like things should be calm down in like another 2 weeks. I'm like, okay.
Right. So does it feel like they're putting you off, or do they legitimately have
I think they
something?
legitimately have, but at some, like, do I keep following up every 2 weeks or just like
Yeah, I
wait
mean, sometimes it's taken literally up to a year for some of my clients to actually
for
finally.
like
Not that
regular
I'm following up with
check-ins
every
though?
2 weeks or
Yeah.
anything, but yeah, sometimes it is just a timing thing. If they're telling you to keep following up and they aren't blowing you off, then it is probably just a legitimate constraint that they're
Mhm.
trying to wait to move until they invest with you and move forward. Because if whatever that restraint is holding them back, they may not be able to actually be effective in the work that they're doing with you. And that could
Right.
be a
And they're gonna
legitimate
invest.
objection,
Yeah.
right? So, like, generally, if somebody has like a fake objection, they will end up ghosting at some point, right? The fact that they are still responding
Well, two
is a
weeks.
good
I
sign.
thought they ghosted me and they just responded today. So it's like fresh in my mind.
Yeah. So I would just get some feelers out for them, especially because you can only take on so many clients, right? So just like, hey, just want to put some feelers
Yeah,
out.
I'm not holding off. So there's a
Yeah.
chance that it's like, actually, I can't take you on for another 3 months. So,
Right. And that's a legitimate use of scarcity, right? Like,
right.
you are one person operating, you do have limitations in your time, right? So that's a legitimate use of scarcity to communicate to them, like, hey, I have planned to, I was expecting that to start. So I planned my time around working with you. Is this something that you foresee happening within the next, 2 to 4 weeks? Or else I'm going to have to open up my calendar and we can connect again when the timing's better for you.
Yeah.
So, and then at that point, that is legitimate, right? You holding time for them, right? If they can't move forward at that point, they should know, like, they also need to be respectful of your time, right?
Yeah. And I need to learn to be like, no, I cannot help you right now.
And just because a no is
Yeah,
now doesn't mean it's a no
for
forever,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
no
those
is
are those
generally
are the
just
boundaries I'm working on.
yes. No is a not right now. Okay, we got some in the chat. Yes, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. That's an excellent one. Yeah, go for no. Um, yes. All right, I'm liking these like real world examples. Anybody else have a sales prospect or question that they wanted to kind of chat through?
So I'll go. And Bridget, frankly, she just stole my story. I mean, that's really kind of what happened. So I was going to be talking about the same thing, but the twist on mine is that after, several weeks, months, etc., because it is a drain on your energy mentally, to constantly go back and go back and go back. And, you're like, you want me to follow up? Yeah. And one of the things that we did was, there was five of them, I think, that had been like so excited, ready to join, ready to be a part of the team, etc. And then like crickets, you send text, you send an email, you leave a voicemail, and that was like every week, every other week, that kind of thing. So I ended up sending them a text. Pretty much people will see text, they may not respond, but this one was a very polite. It really appears that this is not the right time for you. So, if in the future that you would like to have a discussion, we would love to, pick up where you left off. But, keep in touch if there's anything I could do to help, that kind of thing. It was very friendly, don't burn the bridge kind of thing, but pretty much saying you have permission to say no and to let go and to go. and two of them came, one of them came back that day. And then about a week later, the other one came back. And then the third one, actually, we just got a notification yesterday. Hey, like I'm ready to join now. So that's one of the things that we did. We just wanted to be polite, don't burn the bridge, but let them know that it's clear that this is not the right time for you. So I'm moving on.
Right. And then that was enough for them to be like, no, I actually do need to move forward now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes they do just need that nudge. And generally, I find like if that nudge is just organic, right? You're not fabricating scarcity, you're not making things up that aren't true. It is just literally, we only have so much capacity here. I'm releasing you of this obligation and moving on. And then, oh, wait, no, now I actually need it. So sometimes people just need that little extra kick to get them going, or just even a gentle reminder, like I had a client that had an invoice they were supposed to pay, and the automatic reminders had already timed out. And I know she had said like, oh, I'll pay you the beginning of next week, and then a whole week had passed. So I just sent another manual reminder, and boom, she paid it right away. It's just sometimes people slip their mind, right? And they're busy, and so it's like you actually do have to follow up with them, and people want you to follow up with them, right? Like there are two companies locally that do scent branding that I've been speaking to, which basically they can make like custom scents in your space. And for my luxury photo studio, I was like, that sounds great. I want to have something like that. I don't have time to follow up on something. So I've told them, follow up with me. One company didn't hear from me has not responded at all, has not followed up at all. And it was like about a month ago since we met. The other company did follow up, and it wasn't a good timing. So I asked her, hey, please follow up with me. I missed her call the other day. I was in a meeting. I'm hoping she follows up with me. Like your prospects want to hear from you if they're interested in what it is that you have to offer, right? We get into our head that what we have isn't valuable, or it's not good enough, or they're going to go with somebody else. And then we start to spiral in this like anxiety. But at the end of the day, most of the time they're not thinking about you. They just forgot, right? Like they just need to be reminded. So don't be afraid of the follow-up. That's where things actually happen. And in fact, it takes typically 7 touch points to actually make a sale happen. So you do have to stay persistent without being pressuring, without being annoying, right? Like, and read the room, right? If someone clearly doesn't want to be contacted, or they're not answering you at all and you keep sending follow-ups, that's not a good fit, right? So that's a great story, David. Thank you for sharing that. And
Well, the other add on to that is it was really my wife and partner Joyce his idea, and I think she just put it in the chat, and it reminded me. It's like she goes, just you take something away, and now people want it.
yeah,
And that's kind of what the idea is. And so when she said that, and I thought, okay, so I crafted that text based on based on that suggestion. It's always hard for me to let go, but if you do, it frees up your mind, your energy, and you could be focusing on the next prospect. So anyway.
right. And on to the next one. Yeah. The what I like about the Go for No book is it reframes the idea where instead of trying to be like, oh, I'm trying to get a certain number of sales, or I'm trying to get a certain number of closes, you actually target the no's. You want to hear the no's, right? Because inevitably enough no's are going to result in a yes. You just have to get through them, right? Another good book on sales I'd recommend is 100 Million Leads. It's by Alex Hormozy. He has the book for free through his podcast on Spotify. But yeah, it's pretty accessible otherwise. That's a really good one as well for breaking down lead generation in different areas. And then yes, and 100 million offers, also a good follow-up to that one. Does anybody else have a sales story that they want to share, or sales conversation that they had? These are great stories. Thanks for sharing, everyone.
Angelica, can you talk about like the mindset? So for me, following up more than say twice, I start to get a little indignant. I'm like, well, then I'm not going to chase you because what I have to offer is amazing and you're just going to miss out. So talk about that mindset.
Right. So I think that really goes off of that initial conversation that you had with them, right? Like if you think about the initial conversation, how enthusiastic were they about what it was that you had to offer? You'll generally be able to gauge it, right? You can tell the difference between someone who's really invested in something and somebody who isn't. And generally, yeah, I'm not a fan of chasing clients. Like, there is a line between people who are legitimately busy and they don't have you top of mind, and so you have to kind of be on top of them because they're just not good at they're doing their own follow-up, and people who are not super in, maybe they're 1 foot in the door and you keep poking them in the hopes that they will say yes. We can generally feel that from that initial sales conversation or consultation that we had. Would you say that's fair, that some people have a lot more enthusiasm out the gate than others?
Yes, yeah, for sure. I guess maybe I just feel too much like what we have is so amazing that I feel like I shouldn't have to chase anybody for it.
Right. But if you haven't convinced them on the value of that or communicated the value effectively to them, then how do they know it's that amazing? Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of kind of things working at the same time here. Like, yes, we know that our products and services are awesome. We wouldn't be selling them otherwise. And I'm a big proponent of don't sell anything that you don't love, right? Like, it's not going to feel good. It's not going to be a good conversation to have. And that's another reason people hate sales, because they sold cell phones when they were 18 and now they hate sales, right? But generally during that initial conversation, like, they're either going to be pretty gung-ho on it and be interested to learn more, and those are usually the easier sales. Usually when people are held back, it's because of some other reason. It's usually some emotional reason that's kind of holding them back from something, and it's an issue of their own value or their own worth or their own like desire to invest in themselves. Because while we can tend to feel like, oh, I'm not worthy because someone won't spend money with me, on the flip side, people also feel bad spending money on themselves, right? And so that doesn't have anything to do with you. So if it's something that's like a bigger investment, and like say in the networking group, and they feel like they're not going to show up, or they're having a hard time putting themselves out there, that is going to delay the sales process because they're in their own head, and that has nothing to do with you. That's something that they internally have to work out and come to and move forward. I had a client, for instance, this was actually my largest portrait sale to date, and they were first referred to me in April. Early April, we didn't do their shoot until the very end of June. So we're talking almost 3 months after that initial conversation. They were super gung-ho in the initial phone call, but due to the nature of the shoot, I knew that they were having like fear around it, right? And so I followed up multiple times, and they were like, yeah, we still want to do it. We just still need to talk. Still want to do it. We still need to talk. They were giving me the same kind of thing. And I knew that finally I had to give them some sort of like pressure point. And so I offered them a special that I was running in May for a session booked in June. And that was enough to push them over the line. Then they finally did their shoot at the end of June, wrote me like a literal several paragraphs testimonial, and were my highest sale to date. But I could have easily given up on them, and it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with their fear of just being seen, right? And so we do have to stay on top of folks who may be feeling hesitation or trepidation about what it is that we're looking to do with them. But again, it has nothing to do with us. And if we're going to really serve them to the highest ability, then we need to be with them. We need to guide them across the finish line to show them that this is the best value for them. And again, alignment. Like, if it doesn't feel aligned clients are so much better than just having a high close ratio. So
is there a question you would ask as a follow-up just to figure out what their fear might be?
You would even say like, hey, it seemed like you were really enthusiastic when we first met, and now there seems like there's some resistance. Is there something that's holding you back that I could maybe help clarify, or something that you wanted to talk through? Like, it's perfectly okay to have, a transparent conversation with them, especially with the nature of what you're doing being more interpersonal. Can you clarify whether the book Building a Story Brand is 2.0 or original? I believe 2.0 is the current version. Yes. That one is good. Thank you for asking that, Lisa. Anybody else? We have a few minutes left before we have to wrap. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a great book and model. Yeah, and positioning yourself in that mindset, right? Like if you think about for those of you who haven't read Story Brand, the concept is basically rooted in traditional narrative storytelling. And so traditional narrative storytelling has a protagonist, and then there's a antagonist that has some sort of problem, right? And the protagonist is trying to overcome the antagonist with the help generally of a trusted guide, right? Think of Star Wars, for instance. You've got Luke Skywalker, protagonist, and what's his name? Darth Vader, antagonist, and then Yoda is the trusted guide, right? Or Harry Potter and Voldemort and Dumbledore, right? If you look at like pretty much all narrative literature and film, it follows a similar framework of someone who's trying to overcome something, someone who's trying to achieve something, and that something is the antagonist, right? And then the guide is helping that hero achieve that goal. So the same thing works in sales, except you're the trusted guide and the client is the protagonist who's trying to achieve something. So in that case, you're not a pushy salesperson, right? You're not trying to sell them on something that they don't want. You're identifying what it is that they want to achieve and then showing them how you can help them to achieve that or overcome that or whatever it is that they're looking to do. Does that make sense? Awesome. Oh, thank you, Dana. Appreciate that. Just wanted to, thank you. Appreciate that. Anyone else? Bueller. I just got a signed contract as we're sitting here. Hey, way to go, Charlie. That's awesome. I'm actually considering becoming a certified story brand guide. Yes. Yeah, getting certified in that is great. I mean, that really drives home the philosophy as well. But it is a helpful system, right? Like generally when I'm doing a consultation with a client, like you want to find out about them first, right? Ask a lot of questions, figure out what it is that they're looking to achieve. And at that point, you'll either know, like, are you the right fit for them or not? Like I refer out portrait inquiries all the time because I really only shoot a handful of things. Like it's products or on locations or things like that. I often just refer them out. And luckily I have some fantastic studio mates that I can refer to. But if I don't feel like I'm actually going to be the best fit for them, I figured that out during that discovery process by asking them questions and then I can redirect them, right? I've even gotten as far as having a booked and paid client at one point and them not really disclosing what they were wanting and being very much misaligned. And I was able to even just pivot, refund the client and actually get them booked with a different photographer on the day we were supposed to shoot. And everybody was happy from there. So really think of yourself as the guide, the consultant, and whatever you're doing, approach your sales in a consultative fashion so that you can assess if you're the best fit. And if you're not the best fit, introduce them to somebody who is. Don't just leave them hanging. Let's see where we have here. Oh, thank you, Sherry. You've been putting off some calls. Yes. And this guy is great. He found it. Yeah. And ultimately, sales become a lot more easy the more you're aligned in what you do and who you serve, right? There will be certain characteristics that repeat themselves across all of your consistent best clients. And you'll probably notice that most of your best clients were sold from the beginning because it was just aligned, right? Like it just felt like the right fit and it didn't even have to feel like a sales conversation. Like I just brought on a mentor client like a couple weeks ago who I didn't even expect to have the conversation around mentoring. We were just having an organic conversation and it kind of came up to the point where it's like, oh, hey, well, I can actually do this. And it was like a hell yes right away situation. So the more clear you are on who you serve and how you serve them, and then you make sure that you're having conversations with those people, the easier your sales will come just organically because you're working from a place of alignment, not just trying to pad numbers. All right, you got 4 minutes. Last call for anyone.
Well, I'll tell you what, Angelica, I think I could actually take it from you because we do have to wrap. And so I did want to let the folks know about our upcoming focus forum and our next Network with the Nations. So first, before I do that, I want to say thank you once again, everyone, the lovely Angelica Owens. Thank you very much. This was great. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now and bring everyone up to date here. Let me go ahead and, yeah, let's do one of these, one of those, and one of these. All right, Miss Owens, thanks again. This was
Thank you.
great. And I encourage everyone to join us next week, same time, same place. Zoom with NIA.com. It's going to be Mr. Andrew Johnson, and he'll be talking about what makes a great NIA member. All right, so we're switching gears there. And of course, on the first Wednesday of every month, we are going to be doing our Network with the Nations. Do attend that. It's a great way to meet people all around the world in network in action. All right, what we're going to do is set up people in icebreakers. We have some the breakout room questions to kind of facilitate connections with the different people that you will meet. And of course, you don't need to stringently adhere to answering those questions. They're really just there to break the ice. So again, Network with the Nations, first Wednesday of every month. Guys, check that out. Great way to meet folks, great way to earn business. And it's just a lot of fun. All right, breakout rooms every 10 minutes. So attend that. Angelica, thanks again. Lisa, thank you for doing our introductions today. And thank you all for showing up and being here today. And we hope to see you next time, all right? Zoom with
Thanks, everyone.
NIA.com. Take care, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.